Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Wer versteht kein Englisch? Nur Kishori konnte man das nicht. Könnte ich ein Buch haben? Nur geliehen. Ersten Kante, super, danke. Das ist nice, aber der erste Kanto ist angeschrieben. Ein Vers aus dem ersten Kanto. Dies ist 5. 1 ist so ein gerader Strich und 5 ist so ein Kringel. Ach, Entschuldigung. Oh, ich habe es falsch. Entschuldigung. Mein Gott. Toll. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today I would like to speak on this verse in the first canto, chapter 1, questions by the sages, text 22. Tvanach sadarshito datra Tvanach sandarshito datra Tushtarang nistitir shatam Tushtarang nistitir shatam Kaling sattva harang pungsam Kaling sattva harang pungsam Karnadhara ivarnavam Karnadhara ivarnavam Tvana sandarshito dhatra Tushtarang nishtitir shatam Kaling sattva harang pungsam Karnadhara ivarnavam. Ja, bitte. Dushtaram nistitir shatam Kaling sattva harang pungsam Karnadhara ivarnavam. Tvang your goodness now unto us. Sandarshita, meeting, Dhatra, by providence, Dustaram, insurmountable, Nistitir Shatam, for those desiring to cross over. Kalim, the age of Kali. Sattva Haram, that which deteriorates the good qualities. Pungsam, of a man. Karnadhara, captain. Eva, as. Arnavam, the ocean. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. Purport. The age of Kali is very dangerous for the human being. Human life is simply meant for self-realization. But due to this, die Maharaj kann das selbst lesen, oder? Oh ja. Kann einen Vorhang aufmachen. Human life is simply meant for self-realization. But due to this dangerous age, men have completely forgotten the aim of life. In this age, the lifespan will gradually decrease. People will gradually lose their memory, finer sentiments, strength, and better qualities. A list of the anomalies for this age is given in the 12th canto of this work. And so this age is very difficult for those who want to utilize this life for self-realization. The people are so busy with sense gratification that they completely forget about self-realization. Out of madness, they frankly say that there is no need for self-realization because they do not realize that this brief life is but a moment on our great journey towards self-realization. The whole system of education is geared to sense gratification, and if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. Learned men, therefore, must be cautious of this age, and if they at all want to cross over the dangerous ocean of Kali, they must follow the footsteps of the sages of Naimisharanya and accept Sri Sudha Goswami or his bona fide representative as the captain of the ship. The ship is the message of Lord Sri Krishna in the shape of Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tvangna sandashito dhatra dushtaram nistitirshtam kaling sattva harang pungsam karnadhara ivarnavam. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. Umagyan randasya Kenang jana shalakaya chaksurun militang yena tasmai shigu ravena maha. On this most auspicious day, we are more than ever trying to remember and understand Srila Prabhupada. When one chants the Gayatri mantra, it is said one should try to understand the spiritual master. Try to understand. Srila Prabhupada said, if you want to know me, read my books. There are other statements by Srila Prabhupada. If you want to stay in Krishna consciousness, you have to study my books. Srila Prabhupada very much liked to read or hear his books. In the evening, generally, if it was possible, if the climate allows, Prabhupada would sit in the garden in Vrindavan or in other places, and devotees would read to him from Krishna book, mostly in the evening. Sometimes devotee asks Prabhupada, how is it that you like to read your books so much? You actually wrote them. And Srila Prabhupada said, actually, no, I did not write these books. Krishna dictated these books to me. Krishna wrote the books. So these books are Srila Prabhupada's books are our main connection to him. These wonderful pastimes described in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, they are giving us the example of how to live, how to lead a proper life. The Prabhupada says one should ask questions, one should if one wants to cross over this dangerous ocean of Kali, one must follow the footsteps of the sages of Naimisharanya and ask a person like Sutta Goswami for help. Take shelter of a person like Sutta Goswami. And of course, Srila Prabhupada is the representative for Sutta Goswami in this age. When I was young, I very much liked saints. I mean, everybody is attracted to that. There were doves at our house, and there was this Saint Francis who was depicted spreading his arms, and the birds, doves and others, they sit on his arms, on his hands. They come to him, they have no fear. They have no fear of him. Other saints, there are so many other saints also, actually not so many saints. A saint is a very rare personality. And we have the great good fortune of being in the movement of Srila Prabhupada. Sorry. One time Prabhupada said, ISKCON is non-different from my body. Some devotees, they criticize ISKCON. Actually, they're criticizing Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada created this movement. He made this setup. He arranged everything. The GBC being the ultimate, or the GBC body. The whole assembly of GBC members being the ultimate authority after Srila Prabhupada left. All these different arrangements Srila Prabhupada made, so that the movement will continue and increase after he left this planet. Srila Prabhupada is one of the greatest saints that ever appeared on this earth. If you think about it, there are so many incidents that also visibly showed that Prabhupada is a great saint. The saint is shown with a halo around his head, light emanating from his head. But different persons saw Srila Prabhupada's saw the spiritual light emanating from Srila Prabhupada's body, the effulgence of his body. Once in an airport, there was a cleaner man, black guy, and he saw Prabhupada followed by his disciples walking by, and he screamed, "Hey, that man is shining! That man is shining!" He saw Srila Prabhupada's effulgence. On a morning walk in the park, Srila Prabhupada every morning made a walk for about an hour, and he walked very fast. Once Srila Prabhupada had a heart attack, had difficulties, not just one. On the ship, the Jaladuta, Srila Prabhupada had 2 heart attacks when coming to the West, coming to America, on a free passage which he had begged the Sumati Muraji, the owner of the Sinha steamship line. He had asked her to give him a passage to America so that he could fulfill the order of his spiritual master. On this ship, Jaladuta, Prabhupada had 2 heart attacks, and then in America again. He went to India. Then later on again he had problems. Devotees called a doctor. They looked up some doctor in this telephone book, and this person came, old guy, half drunk, and he looked at Srila Prabhupada and he said, "This old man does not have enough exercise. He does not move sufficiently." Old guy, half drunk. But Srila Prabhupada took this serious as an advice from Lord Krishna. From that day on, he made a morning walk every morning for 1 hour. And the devotees, his disciples, Prabhupada was almost 80 years old. His disciples, young men, some of them had practiced sport, whatever. They were fit, going on Sankirtan, fit. They had difficulties following Srila Prabhupada. This 1 hour, Prabhupada walked so fast, they could hardly follow. At the end of this morning walk, they were all finished. And Srila Prabhupada went on doing his duties. On one morning walk, there were 2 policemen watching Prabhupada and his group. Quite a spectacular view. Shri Palat Lakshmini Singhadev Ki Jai, who is also a spectacular view. Palatin Singadev. Very beautiful again. These two policemen, they could see, they came and followed it. Do you know this man? He is shining, he has an effulgence, very bright. And the devotees, our disciples, they could not see it. But these policemen, somehow, they were able, Krishna had revealed Srila Prabhupada's effulgence to them. Other occasions also. Satyanarayan, the devotee who was in care of the Arabian language of the BBT, very famous, serious devotee, he describes how he saw Srila Prabhupada arriving at an airport, and Prabhupada came up what's it called? Escalator. Prabhupada came up the escalator, Rolltreppe. But when the escalator reached the level of where everybody was waiting for the passengers to come up, Srila Prabhupada, he did not step off the escalator. He was, he was hovering. Yeah, he was hovering. There's no better word. He was hovering. He went up above the ground, and he was moving above the ground, above the floor, and he was floating in this way, shining brilliantly. He floated towards the Vyasa san that the devotees had brought for him, and Srila Prabhupada sat down there and greeted the devotees, listened to their kirtan. Several occasions, persons were able to perceive that Srila Prabhupada is a very special person. Also, if we imagine in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, one devotee asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what about the persons outside of India? How will they become Krishna conscious? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Pritiviti achiyata nagararigram sarvatra prachari hoiva moranam. In every town and village, my name will be heard, my name will be sung. And once Srila Prabhupada's god brother, I only know the material name, Obiel Kapoor, he asked Srila Prabhupada, he was discussing with Srila Prabhupada about this verse. And he said, oh, Abhay Prabhu, what do you think? Why? What does this verse mean? How can this take place? Who will do this? Who will spread the holy name all over the world? And Srila Prabhupada, he had gotten this order from his spiritual master, and he was already preparing for this mission. And he answered his godbrother, oh, some fool will do it. No? A famous quote. Some fool will do it. Srila Prabhupada knew. There's this Lilamrita, this first part is called A Lifetime in Preparation. In his early 20s, Srila Prabhupada met his spiritual master. A friend of his told him, oh Abhay, there's a very great devotee. He has come to Calcutta. We should go and visit him. And Prabhupada, he hesitated in his father's house. So many so-called sadhus came for prasadam. No? Gomohan, his father, he invited Before prasadam, he went on the street. Is anybody there who is hungry? Who is hungry? Please come and take prasadam. And many so-called sadhus who just wore the dress of a sadhu just to get some free food, they came, took prasadam there and left. And Prabhupada saw that they are no real devotees. So when his friend told him about this great devotee having come, he hesitated, but still he followed he agreed, and they went to meet Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, and as well-educated young men, well-behaved young men, when they came into the presence of the sannyasi, they offered their obeisances. When they came up, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj told them, "You are educated young men. Why don't you spread the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the English language?" And Srila Prabhupada understood, English language means in those parts of the world where English is the main language, and that's practically the whole world. English is the world language. And Srila Prabhupada said at the moment he saw his spiritual master and heard him talking, a little Srila Prabhupada discussed with him. He argued. He said, but if India is still a conditioned country, we are occupied by the Britishers, shouldn't we first try to get rid of the Britishers here in India before we think of spreading the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, this message is so urgent, it cannot wait. Srila Prabhupada, he was a follower of Gandhi at that time, revolutionary. Gandhi started this non-cooperation movement. No cooperation with the Britishers. They misbehaved in quite some cases. At one time they shot several hundred people who had just peacefully had demonstrated or something like this. They killed so many of them. Gandhi wanted to remove the Britishers from India, and Prabhupada, yes, he also saw that this is necessary. The Britishers, as Prabhupada called them, they knew, and they publicly announced it inside their government, that if we want to rule India, we have to destroy the faith of the people in their culture. Otherwise, they will not follow us. So, and they tried this. They started the Indology, studying the Vedic literatures and trying to present them in a material way. The beginning of Max Muller and others, German. German is quite connected, it is said, to Sanskrit. Indo-German language. So Prabhupada, he saw the necessity of removing the Englishmen from India. He followed Gandhi. He was wearing khadi, self-made, self-spun cloth as a sign that he followed Gandhi. And Prabhupada had visited the Scottish Churches College. At the end of the education, everybody got a diploma. But Srila Prabhupada, he did not come to accept this diploma. He publicly showed that he did not want this education. He had visited, but he did not really want it. So Prabhupada argued with Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, why shouldn't we first remove the British rulers? Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, no. And Srila Prabhupada accepted. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj as a spiritual master. He was convinced, and he prepared for this mission of spreading Krishna consciousness in the in those countries where there was the English language. Now I would like to read a small quote from the Lilamrita by Satsvarup Maharaj. It describes the appearance of Srila Prabhupada. The day after Janmashtami, September 1st, 1896, in a little house in the Toliganj suburb of Calcutta, a male child was born. His father, Gurmohandi, and his mother, Rajani, named him Abhay Charan, meaning one who is fearless, having taken shelter at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. In accordance with Bengali tradition, the mother had gone to the home of her parents for the delivery, and so it was that on the bank of the Adiganga, a few miles from his father's home, in a small 2-room mud-walled house with a tiled roof, underneath the jackfruit tree, Abhay Charan was born. An astrologer did a horoscope for the child, and the family was made jubilant by the auspicious reading. The astrologer made a specific prediction. When this child reached the age of 70, he would cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open 108 temples. There was another quote I found. Another astrologer said, upon seeing Srila Prabhupada's birth chart, this was when Srila Prabhupada was active already as spiritual master, this personality comes and goes at his own sweet will. He is not bound by anybody or anything. The stars are lined up perfectly. There is no question of karma. He is working directly under the will of God. And when he writes, his pen does not have in it ink. His pen has in it fire, which will burn the ignorance of the whole world. Another very good astrologer, astonishing. At Prabhupada's birth, this astrologer predicted at the age of 70, Prabhupada would cross the ocean, become a great exponent of religion, and open 108 temples. Everything happened as this astrologer predicted. Srila Prabhupada's father, Gurmohan, he was very happy about this. He wanted his son to become a great devotee of Srimati Radharani. Sorry. His mother, he thought more about the material safety of her child, and she said she wanted him to go to England so that he could become a barrister, a lawyer, so that he had a good and secure income. But Gurmohan, his father, did not agree. No, our son, he should not accept a material profession. The main thing is that he becomes a great bhakta of Srimati Radharani. And his father, he organized he hired a person who was able, the milkman, it was the milkman, he was an expert Mridanga player. And he taught Srila Prabhupada, he taught a small boy how to play Mridanga. Sorry. Later on, when Srila Prabhupada was in the association of the other disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, they were astonished how very nice Srila Prabhupada was able to play the mridanga during the kirtan. Srila Prabhupada was not very fond of going to school. He wanted to play. And after he had first visited the school, he started to say, actually no, today I will not go. His mother said, you must go, you have to go. My Prabhupada said, small boy, you said, no, I will go tomorrow. And his father said, okay, he will go tomorrow, then leave him at home today. But finally his mother, she got fed up with Srila Prabhupada's behavior, and she hired another person. His profession was to bring the children to school. He had a rickshaw, and on this rickshaw, it was a carrier rickshaw. On this rickshaw, there was a cage. A cage. You could look from outside. And he came to the certain houses. Okay, let's go to school. And the mother brought little Abai, and he had to climb into this cage to the other children. And this man, he drove them to school. And there he opened the cage, and they had to go inside. Also in this verse today, Prabhupada writes about, if a learned man thinks it over, he sees that the children of this age are being intentionally sent to the slaughterhouses of so-called education. Slaughterhouses of so-called education. Does it mean one should not learn to write and calculate mathematics? No. Srila Prabhupada criticized this educational system because the real thing was missing, not Coca-Cola. That's not the real thing. But the essence of teaching, the essence of knowledge was missing. In today's educational system, nowhere do we find a department which educates and trains a person how to lead a human life. Human life means to give up all the sinful habits and to endeavor for spiritual knowledge, to endeavor for self-realization, to endeavor for understanding who are we and what is our purpose in life, and whatever Prabhupada did not want. Often he said he did not want to turn Christians, Muslims, or Buddhists, other groups, Hindus. He did not want to turn them into followers of the Vedic culture. As long as one follows any religious system seriously, Prabhupada said that is sufficient. Of course, where do you find a bona fide religious system? In the Bhagavatam it says, any religion which leads one to develop love for Krishna, that is bona fide. But nowadays, there have been personalities who spread real religion, but in course of time it deteriorated. Jesus Christ, Prabhupada always called him Lord Jesus Christ. He was a great, pure devotee. but his teachings have been changed. There were these so-called correctores in Constantinople. They changed the Bible so that the Roman emperor he would accept it as the state religion. So they changed the Bible, took out instructions about meat eating, reincarnation. Almost nothing is left. Of course, one of the apostles, he wrote, somebody who kills an oxen is just like killing a man. The fifth commandment is there, thou shalt not kill. In the beginning of the Bible, God told Adam and Eve, look at the trees, look at the fruits of the trees and the vegetables on the fields. That should be your food. You should live on that. But people are deteriorated in this age of Kali, as is described here. The good qualities of men are decreasing more and more. So Christianity today, meat eating, we talked about this a few days ago. Meat eating is a built-in part. One of the popes said, officially he created this dogma that animals have no soul. Some Christians, they don't accept this statement, but most in general, we know. In the name of religion, or allowed by religion, there are big slaughterhouses. And all the animals that we see outside, all the cows, they are sent after a few years, giving milk as much as they can. After a few years, when their milk volume decreases, they are sent to the slaughterhouse, so that the farmer has a good income. He gets them killed there. And religion allows this. This is not a working process. If we would start attacking our cows, unimaginable. If we would start, no, one cannot think of it. So horrible. It does not really work. Also Muhammad, he was a great pure devotee. Prabhupada mentions them together, Jesus Christ and Muhammad. They started religions, but it is kind of not complete, not really working. It is said, just like the sun, in some countries there is more sun. Here we are lucky to have a period of good weather, but for quite some time there were heavy rains and it was cold again. All the flowers in the garden, many of them have been destroyed by this. But in other countries there is more sun. India, for example. Other countries, it's South India is always sunny, nicely warm, very good climate, wonderful fruits are growing there. In some countries there is more sun than in others. Here we don't have so much sun. It is even said in the Vedas, Europe is not meant for human beings to live. Here we only have potatoes and apples. Mainly that's it. It's not so, it's quite difficult. The winter comes, we are 650 meters high. In some countries there is more sun, and that means also in some countries there is more knowledge, more enlightening knowledge about God than in other countries. Jesus told his followers, I could tell you a lot more, but you would not be able to grasp it. You could not understand it. There are some hints that God is a person. In the very beginning, when I started Krishna consciousness, I was hesitating and I started to read the Bible, which I didn't do before. First page, it says, God created man after the image of God. So if we think of it, if man is created after the image of God, that means that God looks similar to man. If man is a reflection, is made after the image of God, that means God has a head, he has feet, he has a body, he has hands. Jesus speaks about the kingdom of God. One should go to the kingdom of God. That means there is a king. King has a queen, servants, all the people who are living in this country, the kingdom of God. One should go there. But much more difficult to find. Yesterday the Buddhists were discussing about the age of humans. In the Bible, by accident, I saw that there is a mention of Methuselah, that he was 900 years old. Another person who was 800 years, then another person who was 700 years old. That means that's a very ancient part of the scripture. There are some interesting things. In the Vedas it says, in this age of Kali, people are short-lived. How does this verse go? I made some, here. Prayena payusha sabya kalabismin yugejana manda sumanda matayu manda bhagya yupadrita. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men almost always have but short lives. In diesem eisernen Zeitalter leben die Menschen nur ein kurzes Leben. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Nowadays, people are so unfortunate, quarrelsome, age of Kali, age of quarrel, lazy, referring to self-realization, misguided, following false educations, unlucky, no luck because of bad karma, and always disturbed. That's how the people live nowadays. That's the result of this educational system nowadays. One only learns how to make some money, but nothing else. One learns how to take care of this body, of this material body, but one does not learn who one really is. Neither do the professors now know who one really is, who we really are. And also they don't know the process. Later on, when the devotees were distributing books, some of them, they went to colleges, presented the books to the professors. And some of them were very successful. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, for example, there's one incident. He was traveling with one devotee who later on told the story. And they had a camper, a van, staying in this. So they arrived on Sunday at the university which they wanted to visit. And nearby they parked their van, stayed there, and then Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, he had to follow the call of nature. He said, so I just go to the university, to the toilet, to visit the toilet, hope it's open. And he went, but he did not come back. And his friend, the other devotee, he was waiting. Finally, Bhaktitirtha Maharaj came back, said, "Oh, give me a set of Bhagavatam." And what happened? Well, I went to toilet. Next to me was standing one professor. We also visited the toilet, and we started talking. And I told him about our program, that we want to come to the university and present our books, and he was interested. So while going to the toilet, Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, he sold a set of books and also a standing order. That means all the books that would come, that would be published, the university would take all of them. Next day, Bhaktitirtha Maharaj visited also the other professors, and he told them, "Oh yeah, Professor so-and-so, he was very enthusiastic about our books, and he took a whole set and he made a standing order." These are the he sold several standing orders, sets of books and standing orders at this university, at the different departments. Some professors, they are serious. Some universities, they take the books, but they're not nowhere we find real teachings. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada calls these schools nowadays slaughterhouses of so-called education. People go there, learn something. In the temple, I remember I heard some guests talking, "Oh, I just made my master." "Oh, really? I also have my master." So, master of what? We don't make an education to become a master in some IT department, but real education is not meant to make you a master, but is meant to make you accept that you're not a master, but a servant, a most menial servant of the spiritual master, first of all, and of all the devotees, by which Krishna is even more pleased. That education, that is missing nowadays. Srila Prabhupada was very conscious of this. He disliked material way of life. He did not dislike it. He studied the Bhagavatam. He translated the first canto of Bhagavatam. And he was very conscious of the state of human society. And he was ready to take on his role, his service of spreading the holy name all over the world. Srila Prabhupada, sorry, I lost the thread. In the very beginning, from the very beginning on, Prabhupada, at the age of 5, Prabhupada wanted to make a Ratha Yatra. As a child, he also wanted to have deities. He and his sister, they went to the temple, Radha Krishna temple, opposite their house, And Prabhupada said he was standing there for hours, watching the beautiful form of Radha and Krishna. Krishna with his slanted eyes. And Prabhupada, when he started to study, when he started to go to school, Srila Prabhupada put his deity worship a little in the background. But then when he got married and started a profession, started working for a friend of his father, Dr. Bose, laboratories, then Srila Prabhupada, then he finally met his spiritual master and he began to seriously study the books, become a devotee. He was a devotee his whole life. Devotees asked Srila Prabhupada once and he said, from the age of 5, I have never forgotten Krishna. Who of us can say this? From the age of 5, Srila Prabhupada has never forgotten Krishna. He was always thinking of Krishna, is always Krishna conscious. Krishna is always present in his mind. Krishna tells us, Man mana bhava mat bhakto, engage your mind always in thinking of me. We have to follow this by the easy process of chanting, always chanting, loud or in the mind. Srila Prabhupada, as I mentioned already, he started to prepare his life to fulfill the order of his spiritual master. And more he took over to spreading this spiritual knowledge. And his business, somehow it deteriorated. Krishna Prabhupada later on he said, he understood, finally he understood. Harishita Danang Shanai. If somebody is very dear to Krishna, Krishna takes away everything from him, all material possessions, so that one has to take shelter of Krishna only, of no material possessions. And Prabhupada was preparing seriously. He published a small magazine, Back to Godhead, and he presented this to persons whom he hoped that they would support him. And with the donations that he got, he bought paper and he brought it to a printer, and there he got the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam printed. By and by, Prabhupada was by that time, before as a businessman, he traveled all over India, presenting and selling the medicines that he produced. Prabhupada was very expert in Ayurveda. He was very expert. Here in the shop, we also have a toothpaste that is made after the recipe of Srila Prabhupada. It's a bit expensive, but it's for the temple. Normally I have also a supply for devotees, but at the moment it's run out. I'm waiting for the ingredients. Very nice, very good toothpaste. I had some problems with the gum, some infection, and by this toothpaste it went away. Also the dentist that Sutita and we are going to, they say, oh, your teeth are very... Yes, Sutita said, we have our homemade toothpaste. Srila Prabhupada, he was very expert in making his medicines. He was selling it all over India. But then he started to follow the instruction of his spiritual master, and he started to more and more taking part in the temple life. And finally, he was living in Vrindavan alone in a small room in the Radha Damodar temple. From through the window of his room, he could see the samadhi of Rupa Goswami, one of the greatest followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada was living next to his samadhi in this small rooms, which we can still see today. Prabhupada wanted the devotees to keep these rooms, to pay the rent, and to keep these rooms. And Prabhupada was sitting there. Every day a milkman gave him half a liter of milk, and Prabhupada was distributing his magazines. Not much going on. One incident, a godbrother of Prabhupada told in a book with interviews of persons who knew Prabhupada before he went to the West. This godbrother remembered once he was driving on a rickshaw outside of Vrindavan, and he saw Prabhupada standing there. Oh, Abhay Prabhu, you want to come with me? No, I'm waiting for a person. He promised he will come back home and he would give me 5 rupees, acha. And his godbrother went out of the city. When he came back in the evening, Srila Prabhupada was still standing there. And he said, what? No, he did not come yet. Prabhupada was waiting because this person wanted to give him 5 rupees. And his godbrother said, oh, Abhay Prabhu, please, just come with me. I will give you these 5 rupees. Prabhupada did not have much, almost nothing. Sorry. But he was working tirelessly on translating the Srimad Bhagavatam. As I say, with the income of distributing his small magazine, just a few pages. With that he bought paper, brought a pariksha to this printer, and by Srila Prabhupada had, 203 or 230 sets of books. And Srila Prabhupada knew now the time is ripe, and one of his supporters was Sumati Moraji, the owner of the Sindhya steamship line. He went to her and asked her to give him a free passage on one of her ships to go to America. Prabhupada was not able to buy an airplane ticket or a normal ship ticket, what you call it. And she refused. No, Swamiji, you're too old. I cannot allow you to go. You may die on board of the ship during the journey. But Prabhupada, no, sorry, I have to go. I have to fulfill the order of my spiritual master. And finally, Prabhupada was sitting. He stayed there. He was sitting on the steps in front of the office, waiting. He did not go away. And finally she relented and allowed him, gave him a ticket and also a return ticket for her ships. And Prabhupada went to America when he had 2 heart attacks. After that, Srila Prabhupada had a dream. He was desperate. And he said another heart attack, 3rd heart attack, so close. That means the end. The body would not have survived. And Prabhupada had a dream. He was sitting in a boat, and several forms of Krishna were rowing this boat. And Krishna told him, I will take care. After that, the sea was very smooth, and Prabhupada safely arrived in America. The captain said, you should always come with us. It never happened that the sea was so smooth. The, the, the journey was so easy. And Prabhupada arrived there, didn't know just one person whose father he had met. And he stayed at his home for some time. Finally, they sent him to the YMCA, like a christlicher Verein junger Männer. YMCA, there he stayed. For some time he finally met one Dr. Mishra, a yoga teacher who had a great ashram, big ashram. And Prabhupada stayed there for some time. This Dr. Mishra forbade him to preach because Dr. Mishra was preaching impersonalism and easy way of self-realization. Become God in 30 days or something like this. And Prabhupada, he started talking to his followers there. Finally, Dr. Mishra gave him a small room inside a big building, and Prabhupada could stay there, away from the disciples of Dr. Mishra. And finally, one day, several times Prabhupada went to the harbor. He looked at the timetables of the ships. He thought of going back. He wrote letters to his god brothers, to famous politicians, to other supporters. And they are, no, Swamiji, sorry, we cannot help you. Alone in America, you will not be able to build a temple for Radha Krishna. We don't think it is possible. Prabhupada was struggling alone. A whole year, nothing happened, just every now and then some old ladies from Dr. Mishra, they came to visit his Bhagavad Gita classes. One day, a young man, a bearded, long-haired fellow, approached Prabhupada. Oh, do you come from India? Srila Prabhupada, he never compromised. He had his, he always wore a dhoti, sannyas dhoti, and this Indian hat, and these white pointed rubber shoes, these shoes that go upward in front. And this young man, Howard Wheeler, later on he became Hayagriva. He said, Srila Prabhupada looked like a genie from a lamp, very oriental, very exotic. Obviously he came from India. So do you come from India? Prabhupada, yes. I wanted to go to India to find a guru, to teach me about the Vedic scriptures. And Prabhupada said, I'm giving classes on Bhagavad Gita 3 times a week or something. And this person, he started to come, and he was impressed. He understood Srila Prabhupada. And he started bringing his friends. There was it's called paradox, where all the young people, all the hip youth assemble, cafe, kind of something like that. And he started telling his friends there about this old sannyasi living there in the Bronx, in the slum of New York. And his friends, they came and also visited Prabhupada. One person was Michael Grant. He was living a macrobiotic diet, and he was working in this paradox as a waiter. He had studied music. He even had, if I remember correctly, he even played at some studio recordings of Miles Davis, most famous jazz musician. And he was very much impressed, and he told the other guests about Srila Prabhupada, and then more and more of these young persons who were drop out of society, who looked for an alternative lifestyle. by and by they came to Srila Prabhupada. And finally, then Prabhupada, they to come to an end, they rented a storefront at 22nd Avenue, this storefront shop called Matchless Gifts. The sign was still there. A small room. I always thought I would like to go to America only just to see this room, how small it is. Just a small, narrow room, few square meters. They rented this and there, and also a small apartment in the backyard for Srila Prabhupada to live. And everybody gave something for the rent. And in this way, Srila Prabhupada started the movement. Very, very humble, meek beginning in a very small place. And slowly, his followers became serious more and more. And Srila Prabhupada, he took on all this renunciation, and he kept his faith and the instructions of his spiritual master. He took on all these hardships just to help all the conditioned souls, just to give them some alternative life, some alternative. For the end, I'm looking for this quote by Jayananda Prabhu, Prabhupada's famous disciple who left the body a long time ago, and he had some inheritance which he should use for curing his disease, cancer, do something. But he gave this to Prabhupada for printing the books. And Jayananda, he said, I shudder to think of what my life would be like. I shudder to think of what my life would be like had I not met Srila Prabhupada and the devotees. If only we could be a little determined, so many could be saved from so much suffering. If we think about what would be our life had we not met Srila Prabhupada. He said, if only we could be a little determined, so many can be saved from so much suffering. We know that our life changed completely, that this is the perfection. Krishna is there. He's waiting for us to come back home, back to Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada gave the example how determinedly he was preaching, and how full of compassion he was. We should take his example to heart, and also dedicate our life to assisting Srila Prabhupada to become a tool in his hands to somehow help him spread Krishna consciousness, giving Krishna consciousness to all these people outside who don't know about this. Why are they living like this? Prabhupada said, like cats and dogs, only on the bodily platform, because they don't know better. They learned it from their parents, they from their parents. They don't know, they have no knowledge. And we should assist Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada once said, we have already spent millions of lives eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Let's give this one life to Krishna. let's give this one life to Krishna. What do we get for it if we give our whole life away? We will get a ticket to go to Krishna, to Vaikuntha, the place where there's no anxiety, in the association of Krishna, our best friend. It is said Krishna is called Sharanyam, the only person who is worth taking complete shelter of. Sharanyam. Krishna is the only person who is worth taking complete shelter of. And Srila Prabhupada is his representative. Yes, we should use our lives for becoming Krishna conscious ourselves by serving Srila Prabhupada's mission and helping all the other unfortunate, unlucky persons in this world. Is there any question? Oh yeah, Sanjay. There's no prasadam today, so therefore I took so long.
Yes. I have a general question about how to say, approaching the personality of Srila Prabhupada. There are many biographies or biographical books about Srila Prabhupada by now, and I imagine that just as it is actually dangerous to read Krishna's pastimes too swiftly, I was wondering, is there also a danger of reading about Srila Prabhupada and his life and understand him in a wrong way? Like, think that he's a person like me or other things. Is there harm in reading about Prabhupada unrestrictedly or without a certain sense of reservation, or does it not matter? What is your opinion or realization about this?
Srila Prabhupada said in reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, one should start with the first and second cantos. They are considered like the feet of the Lord. When looking at Krishna, you start looking at his feet, not staring in his face immediately. The 10th canto is considered the smiling face of Krishna. First, we should progress starting from the beginning. Therefore, Prabhupada first translated the first canto. We are so lucky we have one set of these books that Srila Prabhupada personally took in his hands, put in a box and brought them with him to America. But also, Srila Prabhupada, he wrote the Krishna book. He said in case that he would not be able to finish the whole Bhagavatam, at least he wanted the 10th canto to be there. Normally one should not start with that. But Prabhupada presented the Krishna book, the Bhagavatam, in such a way that there cannot be any misunderstandings. The rasa dance, very intimate pastime, very difficult to understand. But Srila Prabhupada presented in such a way. Love for Krishna is like gold. Material lust is like iron. He presented in such a way that we can accept and understand it and not make mistakes in reading and studying. And also Srila Prabhupada's biographies. One should read everything that one can get a hand on. Here in the library, for example, there are these books, memories, transcriptions of the videos. That there was this Siddhanta Prabhu. He interviewed so many disciples of Srila Prabhupada and asked them about the things that they had that happened in the association of Srila Prabhupada. And this is so wonderful to read. Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, he once told me, hey, there are these videos coming out, memories, you should watch them. Yes, now watch them. And no, there's books, 5 books, memories. It's fantastic, wonderful, so full of nectar. The memories of all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, the pastimes, so much nectar, so concentrated. One should read all these also, of course, the biography, Lilamrita, other devotees. One should use the opportunity, Govinda Mataji, she will come back, I heard, to the farm. One should use the opportunity of devotees who had the association of Srila Prabhupada and ask them for their experiences of having association of Prabhupada. We cannot get enough of these pastimes with Srila Prabhupada. All of them are very enlightening and very inspiring. We should not be, my opinion, there's no reason to be hesitant as long as it's given by authorized personalities, disciples of Srila Prabhupada. There's no reason to hesitate to read all of this. I would look at these after these books. They were lying in the barn. I thought they are mine. I lent them to somebody maybe, but they belong to the library. Memories, wonderful, complete nectar. One should read this. Of all the experiences of all these devotees who had the great fortune of being in the association of Srila Prabhupada. But one servant of Prabhupada, I think it was Shuddhakirti, he said, my realization is that all of the devotees are personal servants of Srila Prabhupada. When we perform our service, we do this to please Prahlad Nisingariv and Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is present in this Murti form, and in the books, yes. Once in a dream, I saw how I wanted to put a garland on Srila Prabhupada's Murti, and I saw that Srila Prabhupada was present there, that he was there, and I put the garland on. Prabhupada is present in his Murtis and in his books. We still have his association. And it is said the service is non-different from Krishna. And the service is also non-different from Srila Prabhupada. When we serve him, serve his mission, serve his instructions, we have his association. The Lamrita is one quote that I remember. Srila Prabhupada, he was walking in the streets of New York alone, but he said Srila Prabhupada was always conscious of the presence of his spiritual master. He was praying to him and he felt the blessings coming from his spiritual master. Yeah. Prabhu. Yeah.
Please, can you tell about how first visit of Srila Prabhupada in Germany? How was arranged his coming in Hamburg?
Oh, I don't know much about this. There's this book called Vyasa, Prabhupada and his disciples in Germany. Prabhupada and his disciples in Germany. Vyasa Das. Maybe in Amazon you get it for €1 or something. So many books of Prabhupada you can get for €1. People are selling them if they don't understand them. That's very wonderful. He 1969 or 70, Prabhupada came to Hamburg. There was Shivananda Prabhu. He was the first devotee who came to Germany. And just two other devotees and guests. Not many. There was It was still so very new, just in the beginning. But Srila Prabhupada still came to Hamburg, and he stayed there. I don't remember. For quite some days, he stayed there for quite some time. Shivananda Prabhu was his servant. He was cooking for him. One day Srila Prabhupada said, "You're not going to make these eggplants again, do you?" And Shivananda, "But that's the only thing I can make, it's the only recipe I know." And Srila Prabhupada, "Come, I will show you." And he showed him how to make halava. He said, "If you're hungry, you make this." When they went into Prabhupada made his morning walk in the park, he was sitting on a bench, and Shivananda, he also, and he said he just leaned back and he was exhausted and sitting like this, and he saw that Prabhupada looked at him, and Srila Prabhupada was sitting very straight, very erect. And Shivananda immediately also sat erect like this. He told the devotees. He came back here to Germany quite some years ago, and devotees, they visited the places of Srila Prabhupada, where Srila Prabhupada stayed. This temple, there was a kindergarten now, the Prabhupada visited, and they rented an apartment for him, Elbchaussee, somewhere. And this bench where Srila Prabhupada had been sitting, this book is full of these pastimes. In 1974, Srila Prabhupada came again to Germany, just 4 years. But at that time, the devotees had rented a big castle, Schloss Rettershof, and 200 devotees about. And Prabhupada had a big initiation ceremony. The church had arranged some team, some camera team. They recorded devotees, they interviewed devotees. That one can also see in YouTube. Interesting. And at that time, Srila Prabhupada initiated several devotees. I also came to the Schloss. I had been chanting for 1 year already, but nobody told me that Prabhupada was there. I came later on in 74. No, sorry, not true. I came later on, visited the Schloss, and later on in 74. I got a japamala from my friend who was a devotee already, Gorkishore, who left the body already. And then I started chanting. 76, Srila Prabhupada came to France, Nouvelle Mayapur. At the end of August, 29th of August, Prabhupada came to Mayapur. There was a big initiation ceremony. 40, 50 devotees got initiated, me too. And the next day, Srila Prabhupada installed Krishna Balaram deities there, just like Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan, Nouvelle Mayapur. Karamakan she said, Akhila, the next appearance day of Balaram, we will go, I will take you there. It did not happen. And Srila Prabhupada said the Germans are very intelligent, but they are also very materialistic. Made a morning walk around the Schloss, saw the advertisement, some beer advertisement. I said, what does this mean? Drinking? No, trinken, Srila Prabhupada. Aha, trinken. Little German. Actually, of course, Srila Prabhupada, they are pastimes Yamuna Maharaji tells about a pastime. It's famous in her biographies. Two books. How Prabhupada was talking to a monkey, instructing the monkey not to come back and disturb the kitchen. She was so sure. She saw Prabhupada talking in monkey language. Prabhupada, I'm sure he would have, if he would have wanted, he could have spoken German, but it was his pastimes. These books are so interesting. Now is Bhakti Gauravani Maharaj, Prabhupada and his disciples in Germany. Super, Prabhu.
Vielen Dank, Akhila, für den inspirierenden Vortrag.
Danke fürs Zuhören.
Oh yeah, it's English. So after some times it might cripple in a little bit that after some time it might slowly cripple in a little bit that one loses appreciation, maybe, to take everything what Srila Prabhupada gave and also Srila Prabhupada for granted. How can one deal with that?
When we lose the appreciation, there was Ramanujacharya and his disciples, they took prasadam, and after that his disciples, they threw some small leftovers, some crumbs, they threw it into a lake nearby. And they saw some fish coming and eating these remnants. And they saw how these fish suddenly took on Vaikuntha forms. They came out of the water in their four-armed forms and they disappeared, went back to Vaikuntha. And these disciples said, Guru Maharaj, how does this come? We are taking regularly your prasadam, your Mahaprasadam. Why don't we? And Ramanujacharya said, because you are committing offenses. Yes, we have to be very careful not to commit offenses. Every morning we hear, Trinata Pis Sunichina. One should chant the holy name in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself, becoming a servant. Once I heard in the class this statement, this hatimata, these offenses against devotees is like a hatimata, a crazy elephant, just trampling everything, destroying everything. If such an elephant comes into your garden, your bhakti lata, your small plant of devotional service, will be finished. It's over. You lose everything. You lose the taste. So how to protect against this? In the class, one should build a fence against this animal, and this fence is service attitude. We should consider ourselves servants. Not easy in the material world to be a servant. Everybody strives, everybody tries to become the greatest. Ishvaroham, aham bhogi, I'm the greatest. Everybody endeavors for this, but we endeavor for the opposite. Paradox. We try to become a servant, and the most humble servant of all the others, of Prabhupada, of our God brothers, of all the devotees, and also of all the people in this world. We try to become a servant. And Prabhupada says, we should address each other as Prabhu, Master. Prabhupada writes, beginning of the understanding of this address, Master, begins with understanding of the spiritual master. First we understand the spiritual master, his position as master. Then we will be able to understand the other devotees also and appreciate. We should be satisfied by him humbly performing our devotional service. That will be pleasing to Krishna. And then we will not lose our taste. You have to be careful, yes. Tolerant, more humble than blade of grass or straw on the street, and more tolerant than a tree. Yeah? Okay. Srila Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So at 11, there is the Abhishek, Vyasa Puja ceremony.